Her parents back.
Yeah, and now fell out of a tree.
8, 9, 6 o'clock.
Good evening. Welcome to the last meeting of 2024. I would like to call this meeting to order. We have a quorum. The meeting has been duly called, and if you would please stand for the pledge, and Ms. Hannah Baker, would you lead us in that pledge?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Baker. I need an approval of the agenda and the minutes from November 21st and December 2nd, 2024 meetings.
Make motion we approve the agenda minutes from November 21st and then December 2nd.
I have a motion from
Second.
Jason and a second from Neil. All in favor? Unanimous. Thank you. We would like to would you like to do that? No. Okay. I'll recognize the Student Education Against Drugs. We have a grant, and Mr. Morris, happy birthday.
Thank you.
And Ms. Davidson, if you would like to jump on up there and introduce some students that have taken upon a pretty cool and much needed.
Oh, and this
There's several people here tonight.
And Kari.
Not only does our SEED group, and that stands for Student Education Against Drugs, but we have worked closely with community members, and as you can see, one of our signs over here, that's the PAY Coalition, Prevention Awareness Youth Support, and that's what this is all about. It's all about youth support. It goes to youth in Baxter and Marion County. 2.5 years ago, Cheryl Green called me. She said, I need you to come to a PACE meeting. I said, yes, ma'am. I'll be right there. And then that's how we got involved, because they were trying to tell me what this was going to be about. And they said, do you have any kids that might be interested in this? I said, absolutely. So that's how we got started with the community. And I'm going to turn it over to Mr. Joshua Bird. He's our new leader of our PACE Coalition. This is Kari and Jessica. These are the community members, just one of a few that we work with closely. A couple things before I do turn it over to them. We've won 3 things in a short term. We've won Region 2 Outstanding Youth Group, okay? And that covers 6 counties. And then recently, we won the Youth Group of the Year in the state of Arkansas.
Wow.
That's
awesome.
Sure. How are y'all?
Hi, Josh.
Hey, Jason.
Hi.
As Mr. Morris introduced, my name is Josh Bird. I am the new DFC director and project coordinator, and what we are striving to do in Baxter and Marion counties is substance use prevention, specifically towards nicotine and opioids as designated by our grant. We have $625,000 over the course of 5 years to target youth 6th through 12th grade. I'm just going to read you our vision statement real quick. The vision for PAYS Coalition is connecting communities through youth prevention for healthy futures, and that consists of law enforcement, media, organizations reducing substance use disorder, youth is represented. There's 12 different sectors in the community that are all coming together to push this movement, fuel the movement, if you will. The PAYS Coalition strives to improve the quality of life for our youth by providing awareness that supports health, safety, and prevention education of prescription medications, opioids, nicotine, and other drugs in Baxter and Marion counties in order to reduce youth substance in the communities that we serve, Baxter and Marion counties. So I'm very grateful to be a part of this and very grateful to get to speak to y'all this evening. And I look forward to where the PAYS Coalition is headed in 2025.
That's great.
Thank y'all.
Thanks, Josh.
Thank you.
He is the one that houses the money that we want in the grant. Like he said, 500,000. We get 120, well, 600,000.
625 over 5 years.
625, we get
Wow.
$125,000 for youth education against drugs in Baxter and Marion County. And when we were writing the grant, I think some of you already know how the process of the grant, you put on there what you're going to do. What set us aside is we put on there what we were already doing, and that made us stand out. Now, we're gonna turn it over to the ladies here and let them tell you about some of the things that we do.
Alrighty, so I'll start off with us. My name is Hannah Baker and I'm a senior. Mr. Morris first reached out to me when I was a sophomore, and it was in the spring of 2023. And he was like, hey, I need you to work with 5 other people, 2 people that were in my grade, so we're now seniors, and then 3 others who had graduated last year. He wanted us to basically lead and to start a club here at Mountain Home High School. And so that first year in the spring, we were just able to do kind of all the behind the scenes work. We were able to start a motto and start a name. So we came up with seeds because we were thinking, you know, we're going to be planting seeds in these younger generations. The Seed Club, you already talked about it, but it stands for Students Educating Against Drugs. And so our entire idea was we're wanting to educate these kids about drugs, but first we need to educate ourselves. So we were able to meet with the PAYS Coalition, and they were able to allow us to become extremely knowledgeable in not only prevention, but also in educating other people that are the same age as us. And I think that's what sets our club aside from others is we're the same age as these kids, and we're just a little bit older. So instead of hiring, you know, adults to come and give a boring presentation, you know, an assembly in Dunbar for 1,000 kids, we're going to go meet face to face, and they're going to talk really specifically about some of the things we do. But we were able to meet with kids in Pinkston and Hackler and build connections with these students. And so we're first building connections and drawing them into activities that they can do at the high school. So sports like tennis is what I was able to teach, and gymnastics and fishing. And so we were able to draw them into what they might want to do, and then teach them about how, you know, this can stop them. So if they're, you know, vaping, drinking, and taking drugs, they're not going to be able to participate in these things in high school. So we're able to teach them about things that they're wanting to do and then how they can't do it if they do those things. So we're able to educate ourselves first, and then these younger generations, and then yesterday we were able to educate the staff, and that's something that they'll definitely talk more about. But that's kind of a general overview, and they'll talk more specifically about that.
I think I just lost 600 calories listening to you.
Sorry.
Wow, holy smokers. Right on. You are full of it. I love it. You're full of life. Great. We need you. That's awesome.
Okay, so this year we handed out waters and snacks on the first day of school and helped new students find their classes. We greeted students at Hackler and Pinkston during Red Ribbon Week by opening partners and handing out items. We attended the PAYS Coalition meetings once a month to report our activities and get guidance from our community partners.
Very good.
In the spring, we will be going to Pinkston to engage and train students at the middle school level. The leadership team did a strengths training session in October. We took each person's strengths from our school database and looked at how these affect our daily activities and how we can use those for personal and team growth. We have gone through several drug vaping training sessions, both in-house and with Kyle Evett, who is the regional prevention provider with North Arkansas Partnership for Health Education in Harrison. He came yesterday and helped us distribute Narcan to all of our teachers at the high school. Before the distribution, we performed a skit where we demonstrated how Narcan is used to save a life from an opioid overdose. We have 11 high school students on our leadership team and over 70 involved with the club. We also have an Instagram page It's MH_C.
Very good.
Any questions?
Their names?
I'm Savannah.
Hi,
I'm
Savannah.
Gracia. I'm Hannah.
Nice to meet you. Thank you.
We brought Miss Janie Davidson on board about a year and a half ago, 2 years ago, and she's just taken this club and she's moved it now. We're very blessed on having her. Sydney Lynn has expressed interest and she's getting involved with this because our numbers are going up. We need more adults. So we're doing a lot of good things. We're working with our community. We appreciate them. When we take, we meet at Jamie's once a month, the PACE Coalition. And when we take students, we take new ones every time. Their meals are taken care of by the community through CAR. So,
That's
you know, it's
wonderful.
all about the kids. We're gonna do this, we're gonna do that, because, you know, we gotta get that junk.
So what can you use the grant for every year? What can you buy or do?
There's different amounts allocated towards different sectors, X amount of dollars towards prevention pamphlets. A lot of the money has gone into some of these banners that you see here. We have travel. We've got X amount of dollars to bring expert speakers in on 2 different occasions throughout the year. Anything else that you can think of, thinking about the budget?
Continued training, and training is very important as we learn national trends and local trends. We're data driven, so we spend a lot of time entering data. We have a professional evaluation company they don't just audit us once a year. They work alongside us monthly and help guide us, making sure that we adhere to the grant.
Can you buy another drug dog?
That's not in the grant.
Okay. How about like detection systems for vapes in the bathrooms and,
Through the state, AOR,
Hayward, yeah.
okay.
possibly a program called Centennial Project, Substance Analyzer.
When we were at our conference last week, we heard I heard a lot of other school board members talking about their vaping problem is just out of control, and they're talking about vape monitors in the bathrooms, but I didn't know if that was something your grant could do, or,
Well, we've already put in the grant about what we're gonna be doing. You know, we already got a budget.
Okay.
But here's the thing, after 5 years, we can re-up that
Mhm.
for another 5 years, and then that money goes to $150,000 a year. or
wow,
whatever.
okay,
And it's a lot easier to get it the second time than it is the first
right.
time. And then we just learned today, there's a third. We can go up to
3
15
times.
years.
Wow.
So
It's in bill form right now. So if it passes, it'll be a 15-year program.
Fantastic, great. Love the energy. I think this is, I mean, and we know there's a problem, so,
We would like to thank the school district for being a part of the APNA data program by
Yes.
allowing the students to take testing.
thank you.
When I say we're data driven, APNA data is a big part.
Mm-hmm, yes,
So we appreciate it.
thank you very much. Appreciate your
I'd like
community
to
help.
applaud you for what you're doing and what you're going to be trying to do in the future. You know, you look back at it, okay, this area may not have the drug level that other places does, but we have it, right? And if you polled any of us, we all know somebody that was directly connected to drug usage. We do. And again, I really applaud you and thank you for what you're trying to do.
Thank you very much.
you.
Thank you. Okay, academic reports, Miss Lawrence. Y'all can stay, got chilly.
But you're also welcome to go.
But yes, you don't have to stay. Miss Lawrence has an awesome report if you'd like to listen to that.
Well, Merry Christmas to
Merry
everyone.
Christmas to you.
I have mine up here just sometimes I can't see very good. We are going to focus tonight on just 2 quick slides. We're going to look at an atlas interim in both algebra and geometry. And just kind of a reminder, kind of where we are with interims. We use interims to assess grade level standards, whereas with screeners, we're always kind of seeing what the kids should know before they are entering that grade area. So the interims are on grade level. When we look at this and you're kind of wondering why we have a lot of that is on this test yet. That's the difference between the interim and the screener. So the teachers are working their way through the content area, through the content skills, and these scores will go up by the time we take summative. But what we like to see, and what I've done on the slides, you'll see when compared to the state scores, and if you remember from our other talks on data, our new score level 1, 2, 3, 4 is how they're scoring us on Atlas now. They have the orange, the light green, the dark green, and the blue. So when you're looking at what is considered proficient in advanced, you're looking at that dark green and the blue. And you'll see for the state average there, it's 14%, but our district is showing 22% already in proficient in advanced, and this is in algebra. Basic is that light green bar, and that's where they're showing grade level skills. They probably need some additional support to be proficient. The state number for that is 34%, and then our number is 39%. Those students just need a little bit of a push to get to that proficient mark. Limited is going to be that lowest level 1. The state's showing 52% there for algebra, but our district is only showing 39. So that's good. That's good to be less than that number. So our teachers are working hard. We call that the accordion, the breakout of the standards to help our students get ready for summative. So when we're looking at our next slide, this is going to be geometry. Going to be kind of the same breakdown there. Our state number for proficient and advanced in geometry is very low. It's 9%, but our district number there is 18%. So we're trending higher there already. Basic for the state, you'll see is at 22%. That light green for our district, we're already at 30% there. State number for limited is not great, 68%. We're at 52%. So our students are showing they're going to need some support to get to the proficient level for summative. But like I said, they're working through their grade level standards, and so a lot of the material in this test they have not been taught yet. So we're learning a lot. Atlas is still kind of our pilot year is what I'm kind of considering it, because there's just been a lot of changes. We had a Zoom today about K2 assessments, and a big change we just found out there is we were supposed to take an interim in November. It got pushed to January. Now we're not going to be able to take it. The state is holding off on that. It just wasn't quite ready. So now we're going to wait and do summative. And so there's just been a lot of changes. The teachers have been amazing to kind of hang in there as we learn the process and just kind of take these changes. I wouldn't say in stride, because teachers are never going to be satisfied when they think they're going to get some data on their students and then they're told they're not going to. So we're in the works to see what we need to do in the meantime to get them the information they need about how their students are performing. And that was part of what that Zoom was about today. We are going to have some more guidance from the state in January on what we need to do before summative for our K2 students. So kind of a work in progress here, but that's where we are tonight. Y'all have any questions for me? That's all I'm bringing tonight. It's pretty short.
All right.
I know.
Oh, wow. What?
I may have to talk longer.
I know you can.
Have you looked-
You're fine.
Have you looked at like how many of those light green kids are closer to dark green? Like how many of our bubble
So you
kids?
can break that down a little bit more. Our teachers are kind of doing that work in their collaborative teams. And the other work they're doing is really seeing which standards are showing kind of the lowest outcome, because those standards they're testing low are going to need some extra support. And so the kind of the short answer is it's a little bit harder with the Atlas to pull it by student, by standard. We got a lot of that information through NWA map testing.
Okay.
But you can take apart, when you do those accordions, is what we call it, and you start breaking it apart, that's where you can start digging a little bit deeper into the skills on the test. They're also just kind of seeing, as they work together, just their we call them common formative assessments. They're also kind of using that classroom work to see how their students are doing on grade level standards, because we've gotten a lot more information on what the standards need to look like on the test. They've given us these performance level descriptors,
Okay.
and that breaks apart every standard and every content. And so they can kind of look at the language of that and then see how their students are linking up there. So the state is trying to give us information. It's just they're working out a lot of kinks with the assessments as they go.
If they are working.
They are, like, here's another example of how they're listening. This was good news today in the Zoom. Our littles, as we call our K1 and 2, when they were logging in to do their screeners, they were having to enter the state ID number, which is like 10 digits, I think?
It was wild.
And
Longer than Social
So the
Security.
amount of
guess what?
time.
They're gonna create a scan system so that then they can scan
They're
it.
listening.
That's a good
Because the
idea.
teachers were like, by the time we get them in, you know,
Class
we've
is over.
spent many minutes already on just the login. There were some issues with that, the oral reading fluency as well that they're working on. So, I know, they're listening. I mean, they have really taken a lot of feedback and asked for a lot of feedback. They're wanting to do they're calling them cognitive labs, or I can't remember. They're offering to come into schools and kind of look and see how it's going and take that information back. So if we wanted them to come here, they could come pull some pilot groups of our kids and see how they're doing, and then take the information and like see what's not working, and then take that back and see if they can fix it.
That's awesome.
And that's one thing they noticed was the login time. So
And one thing they've asked is they are listening. They want our teachers to reach out. They want school districts to reach out because we have right now we have a state-created assessment on our standards for our kids, and that's a big deal. And so it's going to take a minute, but when it's right, I genuinely believe it's going to be right. But we just have to be patient.
and that's hard.
And that's
when the
hard
teachers
for
feel
our,
like the year's going by
because
and
our
they haven't
K2
had- yeah.
is kind of, but we should know more in January of how the state does recommend we proceed to make sure we've got the correct data for our little guys.
And
girls.
grades 3-10 will have the interims.
They're rolling.
They're ready to go. So, yeah, more to come. Any other
Very good.
questions about anything?
No, thank you, Ms. Lawrence.
Good job, Ms. Lawrence.
You're welcome.
All right, Ms. Cotter, my favorite thing, financial reports.
Good evening.
Good evening.
We'll begin with the statement of changes in fund balance for the month ending November 30th, 2024. We ended the month with $17,661,784.07. Just to highlight a few things from this spreadsheet is Fund 2247 is new, and I'll be bringing that information to you when we do budget adjustments. But this was a professional learning grant that we received and is to be spent on professional development. So that's good for us and for our teachers. In Fund 4000, you'll notice we made the $2.2 million transfer to cover our debt service payment, and we made that from Fund 2001 to zero out that fund. Any questions?
6830, HIT grant.
Yes, that is a grant we got for nursing services for our CTE program. And it has that negative balance of 70, oh, no, I'm so
Are you
sorry.
talking about the HIT grant?
Yeah.
Yes,
Okay,
yes,
that's
sorry.
high impact tutoring. Do you want to, is that our high impact tutoring grant?
Yes,
Okay.
yes.
I mean,
So-
it's
I'm sorry.
bracketed to a big number, so it draws your attention.
Well, we got a big number. We did get awarded a big number.
And we do, it's reimbursable.
Okay.
Hmm.
And that's gonna be at what date? Do they typically reimburse it?
I'd have to look back for we did get it last year as well.
I believe it came in early December, so you should see it reflected
Okay.
next month.
Next.
Thank you.
There was an error in the reimbursement on that, and so we reached out to the State Department and they corrected it and sent the money. So I believe it got receipted in December.
Thanks.
You're welcome.
Any other questions for Ms. Cotter on that page?
Moving on to the statement of changes in revenue and expenditures. We had total revenues for the month of November of $8,061,249.85. with total expenditures of $3,747,922.91. November's expenditures look a little bit different. If you recall, the 2.2 million got expensed in October versus November, so things are kind of catching up this month.
Any questions?
Moving on to the monthly operating fund balance tracking. And you can see that we got caught up this month after that $2.2 million payment. And we ended the month of November with $11,076,709.14. Next, we have the statement of changes in activity funds. We ended the month with our activity funds of all funds combined of $606,105.62.
Busy, busy.
It has been busy. And then the following reports are the system reports that support these numbers, as well as the check register for the month of November.
Very good. Anyone have any questions?
Thank you, Leah.
Thank you, Ms. Leah.
Thank you.
Enrollment report.
Okay, we have 3,759 students, which is up 7 from last month. I'd love to say that I have found a method to when they come and when they go, but if you look from November to December, there is no rhyme or reason. We just, sometimes we're up, sometimes we're down, depending on the year. So being up 7 is, to me, a pretty big deal from November to December, and we'll see.
Huge
Hopefully
deal.
they'll stay over the holidays.
Very good. Any questions for Ms. Dewey? Student transfers, Ms. Dewey?
We have 2 in and 2 out. One of the students that was out, I'll tell you, was an 18-year-old that was never enrolled. We did try to get him to do the tech center and some other things, but he did choose to go somewhere different. We're not sure if he's enrolled or not there, but we tried to get him enrolled and get him finished.
That is all you can do is try. All right. Any questions about our student transfers? Mr. Knight, facility projects update, please.
So, kind of the largest 2 things that we have going on with finishing. The new smoke detector, I didn't talk about that last month. We had a lot of work we needed to do on our end to make sure that those lasers could connect. The biggest one was clearing out some old duct work. That got finished this week. And then I just heard from the electricians at the end of the day today that they're going to be done sooner than I thought. They plan on being done December 31st.
Oh,
So
great.
Yelcott already has the things in stock, so we'll get them scheduled and hopefully have that in before I see you next time. Same thing with the cafeteria tables. Disregard what you read there because I just got a text that said they are finished.
They got it done?
Today, and they got it done. They didn't want to
Wow.
stay through Friday.
Fantastic.
So those are in, and
That's awesome.
when they come back next year, they'll have new seats.
Oh, look at those kids. Look how excited they are.
Yeah.
The kids
Is
were
that like a
pumped.
highlight of your day?
The kids were pumped today. I
Yeah.
went and saw them,
Good.
and I will tell you that the folks that delivered them
Mhm.
looked at me and said, "Y'all needed these," because
Yeah.
they had hauled the other ones out. I guess it was the same folks that.
Yeah, so we'll get rid of the old ones. We're gonna take any good remaining seats off, because those are about 30 apiece, so when they break, it'll save us some money. And there's about 4 tables in there that are good, that we'll put somewhere else in the district. The rest of them are scrapyard, so.
Very good.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Knight.
Thanks, Chris.
He stays up there.
You
Yep.
get to hang out here for a little bit.
No, sorry. No.
All right.
Well, request to approve door locks.
Yes, so, we've talked about this in the past. We got the original security grant, and they had some excess funding for that, and we started applying for everything we could get our hands on. They approved, some other things that were not over 20, which have already been done. But because this is a grant, is like a reimbursable grant, felt like in order for you all to cut me a check for $20,000 or more, I have to go through our normal policy. So I did take what we were approved for I made an RFP for it, we advertised it, we took sealed bids. If you look at this is just parts and pieces, no one bid on it, no one cared. So we went through the company we normally use and attached that. So we're looking at a price of $52,107.66. No taxes, not including taxes or shipping on that. And then our grant was for that portion of the grant was for $59,900. So we're going to come underneath that. So I'm asking you all for your approval to go ahead and purchase those.
I move the board approve the recommendation.
Second.
I have a motion from Neil and a second from Daniel.
Mr. Knight, can you explain why we need to replace the locks on these doors?
So, when we had our security audit, two large things that came up were we needed some more cameras in some places, which is you'll see on the next round of security grant it's coming out. We keep thinking it'd be this month or next month. That's what that one will focus on the most. The other one was teachers not locking their doors and not keeping them locked. So what these locks are actually doing is going to replace the doorknob, and it'll be more like a janitor's lock. If you want to get in without someone letting you in, you put a key in, turn the knob, you open it. When the door shuts, it's locked. So it takes out all of the human accidental error of
There's no lock or unlock on the inside then?
these doors cannot be unlocked. Sorry, cannot be
Locked.
unlocked. Even when you put the key in and turn it to open up, take the key out, the doors are still locked.
If the door's closed, it's locked.
So if you look down the hallway, or one of the SROs are looking down the hallways and look down the hallway, the door's shut, doors are locked.
No questions.
No questions.
Okay.
And this is across the district, all classroom doors.
Yes, yep, about 400 is what we think that we're gonna see, and that's the amount of carbon monoxide detectors I ordered that they put in over Thanksgiving, and that turns out to be very close, so.
Any more questions for Mr. Knight on locks?
Really, I mean, if we, gosh, you hate to bring things like this up, but there was a school shooting earlier this week, right? Those doors being locked at least prevents someone from going from room to room, basically. So I'm, you know, I'm all on board. But it is one of the things that we have to consider, you know, in the future is things like this to help prevent. You know, and it is prevention. They can't run from one room to the next.
And you also don't have to, if something like that were to happen, you don't have to have a teacher going, oh my goodness, where are my keys? Or, you know, handshake, it's just done. Shut the door.
All in favor? Unanimous. Request to approve architect contract for Guyberry Roof.
Okay, so, we know that we need the new roof, and we talked about starting early, which the division gave us permission to go ahead and do. Still hoping that they will fund us. We also know we don't have a choice. This project's over $100,000. We have to have an architect. So in the past, this is our school architect, and we ask him for a contract. And I just kind of want to, like, real quick go through what it is, what it goes into. They do not feel that price is going to go over that $77,500. If it were to go over, we ran into troubles, or we all as a group decided, or you as a group decided, hey, I want to change the look or add things that aren't normally in that. So what you're going to get with that is your drawings that are going to take them about 3.5 months. They're going to take that to the division for approval. That'll be another month. They'll do all of the bidding paperwork and bids, not only for our requirements, but the state requirements to get that through. Choose the winner. We'll bring it here for you all to approve, the roofers, and then hopefully start construction on June 1st, and then they will also act pretty much what we would call like the construction manager for that project while it's being installed, coming by on site, making sure it's done properly and timely. So I'm asking you all to approve that contract with Modus Studios to use them as the architect for the Guyberry roofing project.
Make a motion, we approve the recommendation as presented.
I have a motion from Jason,
Second.
second from Barbara. Any discussion? All in favor? Unanimous, thank you. All right, Mr. Helmert requests to approve weapons detection system.
All right, good evening.
Good evening.
Yeah, Merry Christmas to
Merry
everyone.
Christmas to you.
So, over the past several years, the district has been working to create a layered approach to school safety. One of the next layers of our approach is to provide a weapons detection system at the high school and junior high. Administrators in the district worked with myself, technology director, and SROs to meet with multiple companies and test different types of weapon detection systems on our high school campus. After listening to students, teachers, families, and community members, a decision was made to try and provide a weapons detection system on our high school and junior high. There are available funds for this system in our district building funds. So, even after, Neil mentioned that we had a shooting this past week, or this week at, what was it, Wisconsin?
Madison.
So, y'all know what number that was? How many shootings we've had in public schools or even private schools? Y'all know how many since January of 2024?
380 something.
No, just one this year. Since January 2024, there's been 83 school shootings. So that's 80. This is the 83rd shooting that's occurred on campuses. So before I get to questions or anything like that, I would like Ms. Dewey to come up here and. Oh, I'm sorry. Sorry, Ms. Russell,
Yeah.
come up here and talk a little bit about. Yeah.
We need a recommendation first.
Oh,
So that there can be
I'm
I
sorry.
move
discussion.
that the board
It's okay.
approve the
Yeah,
recommendation.
so,
Second.
Hang on.
hang on. So what I want to do is I want the board to approve the purchase of a weapons detection system from bidder 2. We had a RFP that we sent out sealed bids, and we had 2 bids. So I'm going to go with bidder 2 in the amount of $147,961.71.
Okay, we have Neil as a motion and Jason as a second.
Correct.
We'll stick with it.
Okay, good.
Okay.
Discussion.
Now we
I
can
got ahead of
discuss.
myself there.
That's okay.
So before we open up this question, do y'all mind if Ms. Russell comes up here and shares a little bit about the demo that we did at the high school and her talking with the staff and students?
Yes, please, Ms. Russell.
Thank you. And also, thank you for the cafeteria tables. That was
Merry
very-
Christmas.
Very
right?
well.
Yeah.
Christmas
From the
Day.
board.
Yes, from all of you. I do want to say, one of my biggest concerns when we tested this was logistics. Like, can I get 1,000 people in the building in a timely manner? And that was the biggest surprise to me. I don't know about to you, but that was the easiest part. It was seamless. I feel that very strongly that this is something that we absolutely have to have. But I wanted you to hear from the whole reason I do this. And so I invited Jocelyn, and then of course I asked the C girls to stay, and I have no idea what they're going to say. So this is a little bit of a gamble, but I want you to hear from the very people
Yeah.
the reason that we do this.
Right. Thank you.
Yeah, first of all, thank you for the lunch tables. It may not seem like a big deal, but
is.
I saw kids get A's on semester finals and kids see new lunch tables, and the excitement level was like right there. So, thank you very much. The thing that I was asked to speak about tonight is how students felt about there being a weapons detection system in the school. Because y'all have worked out the logistics of it and all the other sides of it, but that was the main concern. And something that I saw was that initially it was fear, right? Of why are these here? Did we do something wrong? Is there something to be afraid of, right? But then you get to know it and you realize that the fear isn't about what it is, it's about the change that happened to get there, right? And so the same thing happened when we implemented part of the LEARNS Act this year with phones and AirPods. It was fear of what if this happens? What if that happens? Why is this happening? But then you reach your conclusion of
the students just accept it, right? You get into the 4th week of school and you're like, hey, instead of on my phone, I'm playing apples to apples, right? And it's great because change isn't always a bad thing. And so I think that you reach high school students and junior high students and you really realize that the change is accepted pretty quickly. And so soon it becomes, we aren't scared of the weapons detection systems, even though at first that was the response, but soon you don't even really notice it. You're walking into school, it's part of your everyday routine, and really you feel a whole lot safer. Because you ask students, you look around, and I had been asked early this morning if I would speak here. And I, of course, agreed, because I would do anything for Ms. Russell. And I started, I don't want my opinion to be the only one that I'm sharing with you guys tonight. So I started to ask around, how do you guys feel about this? Like, what do you think? And really the overall response is that I think we need it. Because 83 school shootings, tons of casualties, right? And I know that I'm a senior, so I'm not going to be here next year when these are implemented. But my mom, who is also here tonight, will be there, right inside the front doors of the school office. And my brother will also be there, sitting in class. And so will all of my teammates and friends that I'm leaving behind. And so this becomes something very, very important to me and also to everybody else sitting here tonight that these are implemented. And I think that the risk is worth the reward because the fear is over change, not what we're putting in the school. Because fear is eliminated by what you're putting in the school. And that is really all that I have to say.
That's
Thank you guys for
fantastic.
having me.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. You are impressive.
Wow, that was impressive.
We have some great students.
So, do y'all have any questions about this system?
Is there an annual fee for software?
Yeah, so if you can, on the last page there, I want to say it was on the last page that, so after the first year, the software will be $4,650.
Okay.
That's, and that will be after the first year.
That's actually not a bad price compared to other places.
Right, that's exactly what I thought.
OpenGate's a very good platform that they use for a lot of different systems, not just that kind of system, but they use OpenGate for airports.
Yes.
They use OpenGate at our government facilities. I've been around it a lot. I know how it works. And, it'd be neat if we could show a video to people sometime on how it works, maybe one day here.
Yeah, so
they got an idea of how.
Because this is a sealed bid process, we weren't super comfortable showing the video that did name the actual company. Because that would.
But we could now.
Yeah.
Well, it's
Well,
after
after.
it's been approved, we could, or we
So
could,
if y'all-
after
if
the
y'all-
meeting, we could, maybe, if it's approved. I mean, I'm not,
Yeah.
don't want to do it if it's not.
yeah.
Or next month. I mean, it doesn't have to be done
You could.
this evening.
So,
Facilities
and I
report
also
next
want to
month.
add that one of these units at the high school, that, because at the high school, we have 2 entry points. There's no way around that, I looked at it, so I had to really, so one of the units that back by the cafeteria will be a mobile unit that we can move for high school games, football, basketball, graduation, that we can use them at those events as well.
Thank you for bringing this here. This is actually an important discussion I think we need to have on school safety, and this is certainly a piece of it. There is no easy solution to this. There's no obvious solution. If there was, every school district in the country would do it, regardless of the cost, right? So this is something that everybody is obviously struggling with. When we put together our master plan, number 1 on our agenda was top priority was school safety, and I think the board was pretty unanimous. The board and the administration, Ms. Dewey, I think we're all, hey, that is our top priority. It is an uncomfortable truth, but school safety cannot be guaranteed. Right? We can do our best, but there is no way to keep our kids guaranteed to keep them safe. Right? From a variety of threats, right? Teachers harm students, right? Not necessarily in our district, but out there. Teachers can harm students. Other students can harm students. Get in a fight in school, hit somebody, they fall and hit their head, or whatever. Obviously, the active shooter aspects. Like this district, we do everything that we can, we try to, but we cannot guarantee we cannot guarantee the school safety, right? And we saw after the online threats back in September, We saw comments online where people were like, well, I'm not sending my kid back until the district can guarantee their safety. It's like, well, we cannot do that. We say we're gonna do everything we can with the limited and finite resources that we have. That last little piece is not left off there, right? Everything we can, well, why not we hire 10 or 20 resource officers for every school district, and we put up big fences where you can't see from the street into our playgrounds, et cetera, right? We're not doing everything that we can because we can't. We have resources, we have a finite amount of resources to do what we need to do, and we have to allocate, hey, we think this is what's best with those resources that we have. So with that in mind, we have a finite amount of resources. I want to ask some questions, and we need to decide, is this expenditure the right spot to spend our resources on keeping our students safe and what we can do, okay? This is a big price tag. I don't care about the price on it. If it's effective, let's do it. My concerns, well, I've got several. I went to both demos that happened at the high school, and I don't know which unit we're bidding on here. The first one, I stood there talking to you and watching students come through, and there are levels, sensitivity levels, and we had it set where it was, you could bring in a Chromebook, a notebook, and some keys in your backpack, and you could go through and it wouldn't set it off. If you had a handgun in your backpack at the same time, or a big knife, you went through and set it off. Okay, hey, that seemed effective until I looked over at Mr. Helmert and I said, well, you've got your sidearm on, you walk through. So he walked right through the metal detector and didn't go off. Okay, so if you have all of those things and a handgun all set up, well, what if the kid's just coming to school with one intent in mind, right? And he doesn't have his Chromebook. He'd walk right through it and it was ineffective, right? The second one I think was more effective. I knew it took a lot more personnel watching it, somebody watching the screen, somebody being there to look at a bag if it had triggered, hey, you need to check this student here, et cetera. So in addition to this unit, what is it going to take personnel-wise to run these 3 units?
Yeah, so Scott's a good question. So that was one of the concerns when we were doing the demos. The first one is the one that we're going with. Is it doesn't, in the morning time, we can be there, but after that, there is an app that comes with this product, and it does take a picture of the student. If it goes off, it takes a picture and sends it directly to the administrator's phone, Ms. Russell, myself, the SRO, and you get it immediately.
So this was the first unit we looked at? Is
Yes.
that right? So
Yes.
that's the one with that example I just talked about?
Yes.
Yeah, where you walked
Now,
through.
so there's different levels that you can set that at. So, there's different sensitivity that you can set it
Sure.
at. We could lower the sensitivity and it's gonna catch almost everybody that comes through there. But we don't have the manpower to search
Right. It's too
everyone
false
that comes
alarms.
through there.
Right.
So, this trial and error, there's things that we can do. If it has to take where you gotta take your Chromebook out and set it on a table, then walk through, that's what we have to do. There's different things that we can do. But is everything 100%? Absolutely not, Scott. Is this bulletproof? Absolutely not. I think it's a layer of security that we're providing for our staff and our students.
Yeah.
And there's other things that I'm looking at that we can do, but this is just one layer.
I think I even used that term layered approach when we were talking that morning.
Yes.
looking at it. So 2 people in the morning hours?
Yeah, I think it could be done with the administrator and make that a duty for some teachers.
Okay.
And the other thing is I don't want to embarrass kids that they walk through and they have to be searched. So there's rooms that we took them in when we searched them, their backpack or whatever it went off. So the other unit, which was a lot less, did not have that capability of sending you that information. And we'd have to man those units. You'd have to hire somebody to sit there.
Sure. my concern of these units are, they're designed to find the students that bring weapons to school for protection, maybe in an urban environment, maybe there's gang activity, hey, where they're bringing their own firearms to school, or they're bringing firearms to cause problems with gang. It's not gonna stop the, hey, I've got, 30 mags and I'm coming to create chaos, and it's tough just even to think and talk about this, right? But what we saw this past week wasn't that, right, up in Madison, Wisconsin. If students know it's there, I don't think if somebody's coming in there to be a shooter, they're not going to walk right through that because they know it's there. And I think there's so many other weaknesses in our system just due to our school design. The fences, so many exit doors. Somebody wants to get a handgun in the school, and I don't want to go into a lot of details, but they'll do something else. Leave it outside an exterior door and go inside and then open the door and grab it, and okay,
Yeah.
just bypass it. It's
I mean,
so
I understand
easy.
what- yes,
It's
I
so
understand what
easy.
you're saying.
And so that's a lot of money for something that I don't really think is not gonna stop somebody who wants to do it. They'll just go around a different way.
Or not do it at all,
Or-
also, Scott.
So is this more of a deterrent then? Or is it a?
I mean, it can act as a deterrent as well. I mean, it's a layer of protection that kids have to walk through to be checked, but it also is serving as a deterrent where, hey, I can't do it here. I mean, there's, is there other avenues inside our school? Absolutely. But we can't high fence the whole thing.
I kind of looked at this like a drug dog. When kids see that dog going through the halls, they're going to think a little bit more about bringing drugs to school. It's a deterrent. It is, and it's also a catch-all. I don't know what else we can do at this price to give security and safety and peace of mind to our students, our teachers, our parents. I mean, there's a lot of things you can do. We can't afford it right now, but this we can. And I think this is just this is my opinion. But
So, and I do like the capability of it being mobile, where we can use it
Yes.
at different huge events
Functions.
that we have, different functions,
Mhm.
graduations and basketball games and football games.
And couldn't you train it doesn't have to be administration or a teacher, couldn't we get volunteers from our community, ex-military, somebody that would like to help us, and we don't have to pay at certain things, and have them learn it and man it for us instead of,
That's a possibility.
and having, I know there's a cost to having our administration do it too, but
Yeah.
I bet there would be a lot of volunteer help in our community that would love to be part of this safety project.
I agree with that. I understand the deterrent aspect. I understand that we want it, that's gonna make us feel safer. Do we have any data? Are there any studies, or is there any data out there that says this actually in any way does what we think it's gonna do in terms of deterrence or prevention? Or is this where we feel like we need to do something, and so this is the something that we're doing, and so we feel good about it, or we feel better about it?
Well, I'm sure there's data out there, Scott. I haven't personally looked it up. I'm sure that we can find something. I look at what Guyberry does. I know there's a lot lower number. All those kids walk through a metal detector. It's not a weapons detection. It's actually a metal detector. And I've worked at Guyberry for several years, and I'm the one that had that brought in. And because we had such a problem there. And once we brought that in, we searched every kid, and it stopped a bunch of our problems. I mean, that's one data I can give you. I've seen it work. It's at a lower scale at Guyberry, but I was there at the start of that, and I've seen what it can do.
Okay. I tend to think that it's not going to, other than feel good, and I worry a little bit about it, creates this false sense of security where we feel like it's making us safer, but it doesn't actually really make us safer. And there can be some downsides to that as well, where
Can you explain that?
People may become a little bit more complacent, maybe watch a little bit less because they feel it's maybe made them more secure. But as I said, there's so many ways around that system that in reality, if somebody wants to get in there, that it might not. I don't have any data on that either, but you know, that could be a concern.
You know, just tonight, we've added doors that are gonna automatically lock.
Good.
Which that's
Yeah.
number one. This is just another tool just like that. There's not an airport. I've been to other schools for events and had to walk through. I thought they were metal detectors. They may have just been weapons detectors, but this is not an uncommon thing. And, you know, we can't build a new school with 2 doors right now.
Sure.
So we can act like we've only got 2 doors. And I'm kind of confused when you said if a student had a weapon, they wouldn't walk through, they would find another entrance. If everything's locked, what's the other entrance? That kind of confused me in the debate. I appreciate debating this, but I don't know what they
I don't really want to give details, like, you know.
Not really.
I don't want to do that
No,
here,
and I will
but
say this,
there's other ways around.
you know, being a school resource officer for 20-plus years in Mountain Home and knowing all the resource officers, they walk the outside of the building to make sure that all our exterior doors are locked. Now, that doesn't mean a kid can't open it for somebody, but, you know, we do make sure that our exterior doors are locked, and they've done a really good job with that.
Oh, and I'm not doubting y'all do the absolute best y'all can, and I'm just saying there's weaknesses, and like, that's not a catch-all, right? Let me ask this question. Why high school and junior high? I mean, we know like Sandy Hook was one of the worst instances in this country, Sandy Hook Elementary School, right? So
Yeah.
why the high school?
Well, I'm looking at the older population. I'm not saying it can't happen at our elementary or middle school. You know, so right now we have one at Guy Berry. And I think just that our population of our kids, how old they are, the capability, that's where I want to start. Now, would I love to have it at each one of our campuses? Absolutely, Scott, but we cannot afford that.
All
And I
in due
understand
time.
that.
Well, that's where I started. Hey, we have limited resources. I'm not opposed to the system. I'm not opposed to spending the money, but we have a finite amount of it. Let's look at where it's best spent, right?
Where do you
Well,
think
it's
it
just
would
a
be
layer
better?
of protection is what it is, because you have cameras, which are another layer of
Yes.
protection, so
And
you're
I was-
adding another layer. It's not
Entrance of
really,
the
this is gonna fix your
elementary.
problem. It's just
Entrances.
adding a layer to your access control and your camera system. Now you're gonna add this, so there's 3 layers of protection.
door locks.
The more, it's just kinda like a security system. You put that sign in the front yard, people don't wanna break into your house. I don't care if you have an alarm or not. They look and say, oh, that guy's got an alarm, let's find a house that doesn't have that. Well, it kinda works like that with schools too.
And another
That's
deterrent is a
I get
police
one of those
car
signs.
parked out in front.
Yeah,
That is.
$99 comes with.
So, that's kind of where I'm at as far when I looked at the junior high, get them, you know, that population used to coming through the weapons detection, how it works, then they come to high school, it's kind of got to flow to it. Now, would I love to do the middle school? Absolutely, but, you know, like you said, resources.
I was gonna say, if we're gonna pull this out of the building fund to do this, I think we should consider doing it to the middle school too, because a middle schooler can grab a family handgun just the same as a high schooler can. So
Well,
if we
if
say,
you point that
this is
out,
what we
the
need to-
shooting down in Texas was an elementary student at an elementary school.
That's right.
In
Really?
Sandy Hook. I mean, I wish we could do, it makes me sad we have to do this
Yeah.
at all. But we've got to start doing something. And another layer, I feel like Officer Helmert has done quite a bit of research.
I've done a lot of
with the
research, done a lot of
layers.
homework on this. There's other things that I want to do. I don't want to bring everything to you in my first year at doing this. Okay? There is, there's a lot of stuff out there. There's a thing I looked at Zero Eyes that work with their cameras.
Picks up weaponry, yeah.
It's really neat technology. It kind of works, when you're talking of layers, that's your parking lot.
And
you
that
know.
would be after we were able to do we would want to do our cameras, is that correct?
Yes.
From what I saw, so the cameras, and then we can add
Yeah, it's a
this.
software to the cameras.
Yeah. So-
We've already
All that
met with
before.
them, Zoom. over
So
Zoom.
anyway, that's just another layer. So I want to start somewhere. Because I've been with this school district for 20-plus years and we've done nothing.
Right.
So the door locks, 100%, great. I mean, that is it's demonstratable. You cannot get into that classroom. You can't forget like those door locks. Great idea. Spend the money. Let's do it. And that's a grant. But maybe I would like to hear what some of those other options are, so we can have a choice on where we want to spend our finite resources. You know, the other thing is school shootings, active shooters or whatever. It is it's a symptom. It's not the problem. We view it as the problem. Let's fix the problem, but it's really a symptom. What is the problem? Well, you can get back and go say, hey, well, mental health, but maybe mental health is a symptom as well, getting back to the root problem. You know, I'd almost like to talk to Mr. Sutton and say, hey, what can we do? Can we spend more money addressing the root cause, right, than maybe this? And so I'm not saying I'm opposed to this. I'm saying we just need to be really considerate on what we do, right? Maybe it's a high fence where our kindergartners aren't playing right on the street, so somebody wants to come up for, or Hackler, and there's 3 grade levels playing outside by Rodeo Drive. The point is, I think we need to have a real talk about where we're going to spend and what we're going to spend to achieve our number one objective in our master plan, which is school safety. And that way we're doing what we can, and we're spending our dollars in a way that makes the most impact. And while I understand that this is another layer, and it's good, and it makes people feel good, and it's going to deter, I don't know if it moves the needle enough, since somebody can go around the system, and there's ways around it, to actually justify that, hey, this is where we need to put $150,000 plus 6 duties every day and $4,000 a year, not counting maintenance or whatever, right? There's a real cost to this. Is there a better way? Can we get more counselors and spend more money on mental health? Should we be looking into more fences or something like that? So I think that's where we really need to have the hard discussion of what we need to do by saying, hey, let's spend $150,000 on this, and at least we're going to feel good if we feel like we're doing something. It may or may not work, but we feel like we're doing something. It's going to be a deterrent. To me, that doesn't really, there's nothing I can grip onto that. It's just, well, we feel like we got to do something, so let's do this.
That's not the way I looked at it, Scott. I didn't look at it that I felt like we had to do something, let's do this. This is something that I brought up, it's been a couple of years. It's not something that I'm just thinking that we have to do something. I hope you don't look at it like that.
I don't look at it for you that you're doing that, no. I know, you know, when I've talked to Ms. Dewey, I've talked to myself, I've talked to people in the community, it's like, well, we need to do something, right? And I hear that a lot. And I feel that same way. Well, we need to do something, right? We need to be proactive with this. So I want to make sure that that's not what we're doing here, that we're doing something and we can sleep at night. Now, God forbid there's an incident and we don't do this.
I don't want there to be an incident.
How can we live with ourselves, right?
So,
if there's an incident and we don't do this, how guilty are we going to feel,
the
right?
state has provided a list of priorities. Priority 1, priority 2, priority 3, and I feel like that's our map, or it's a pretty good start for us. So we will have completed priority 1 as soon as the locks are installed. Priority 2 includes, and cameras.
It was cameras.
Updating cameras, the access control, which we
Yes.
went ahead and did. So see, we've already started some of priority 2.
And we have a lot of priority 2 already.
Shades, priority 1.
Yeah.
We've got a lot of priority 2 done. We'll go into priority 3. So the state's helping us see, here are your steps. Here's how to get your school as safe as you can with the limited resources, like you said, that you have. And they've thrown in some resources. This is actually a priority 3 item.
And I'm sure they have a team that are doing all of this legwork that you're talking about.
So
you know.
this would be considered priority 3. So you cover priority 1. Because we didn't have the door locks, we were able to apply for the grant to get those door locks covered, because that was leftover funds, excess funds from the original $50 million. So we're expecting another $50 million, and that will help us complete priority 2.
Are the priorities layered, like you should do priority 1 first?
Yes, sir.
Number
Yes,
2,
sir.
3rd? Have we completed priority 2?
We will when we have the cameras.
Yeah.
We'll be very close. I'd have to look again to make sure, but we're close. And actually, Chris might know, but I think he has. Here he comes. Here he comes. He'll speak to it.
Because I feel that, hey, those lower priorities, these are the ones that are going to have the most impact. Hey, do priority 1 first. That's going to have the most impact. Priority 2.
Yeah,
priority
probably
3.
it's minimum. Have window shades. is where I look at priority 1. Priority 2, we're pretty close, especially once we get the
I think
cameras.
technically you could say that we've hit it.
Once the cameras, well, we have cameras.
We're going to
We want to
do better.
update.
We've had cameras for 12 years.
Because we actually, when I told you the security audit, we did the audit, the walkthrough, the place that was a recommendation we didn't have cameras was Nelson and Wilkes, and you all just
Did
approved
that.
that already. And we kind of did that knowing that, we still have cameras to upgrade, and assuming that they give us the amount they gave us last year, like 200.
Which we expect, 250,
260.
between 220 and
Yeah, that
260,
you'll
somewhere
probably
in there.
spend that while we feel like that is done, we need to get some more high-def cameras, and some great cameras, and software.
And we don't have that money yet. They've talked about it for a while. We don't have any indication that there will be another allocation. So this would be something that, for priority 3, would have to come from somewhere else at this point.
But it's possible there could be a grant in the future for priority 3.
I have not heard
Awesome.
anything about money past the 50 million. What I have, the second 50 million. What I have heard is money for a state radio panic,
Yeah,
but that would not be allocated to the district.
yeah. Well, and also, Scott, I want you to understand and let you, this is, I know it's a weapons detection system, but also what comes with that on this app is a lockdown system, almost like a panic button, where we can, by a push of a button, I can lock down the school, give that notification out immediately. You know, there's a lot of things that the app does as far as notifying staff.
I think that's good. You know, this is a question I asked recently. Hey, is there a big panic button?
Yeah.
Ms. Heather at the front desk have a button where everyone in the school is going to know.
So,
hey, go.
So Miss
get
Heather
behind
would
a locked
have this
door.
app, and all it is hit that lockdown, and everybody gets it.
Okay. These are my views. May not be everyone. I would like to see options. Maybe. Hey, let's put it together. There's not a hey, we got to do this right now. It's not urgent. This has been here for a while. This problem's been here for a while. I would like to see some options on where we spend our dollars for school safety. And if we decide to do this, then my recommendation is let's do it for all the schools. How do you say that we're going to do it for the high school and junior high? Middle school, we don't have the money for you, right? If we're going to spend the money right out of the building fund, do it for the other schools, right? We can't say, well, you guys are more important than those, or we think there's more likely to be an incident here than there is here. Like, how's our staff going to view that even? Well, hey, we're doing this for the high school. Hackler, you're on your own. Now, if we say this is the right money to spend because this system provides this, and this, we need to cough up the money and do it at all of our campuses.
So you think the students, or just for the front office? I want to just clarify, would you have your students walking through this at every campus, your kindergartners, your first, second, third graders? I need to know, because if we're going to price it, we'll have to know what doors that you're interested in seeing something for.
It's hard to see somebody at Nelson Wilkes doing that. Hackler and above, certainly.
So, just to come back at you, my only concern, it's what you said, it can be a deterrent. You've got a weapons detector at the high school and the junior high. So, let's just go over to Nelson Wilkes Heron, because they don't have one. So, for that, that would be the thought process. I have that, but we have to start. Common sense tells me there's more activity at the high school and the junior high coming and going. You're not going to have quite as much activity, and it's easier to kind of monitor people who are approaching the different schools. So I think if we start this process and we have the funds, it does make common sense to start where there's the most activity in and out. And high school and junior high are very fluid.
Well, that was
just a
one of the other
fluid-
concerns of block scheduling. Students are kind of coming and going all during the day, but we're only going to man it during these few little hours at the beginning. And
No,
then
it's
and then it's going to be, well, you get a notification, you got to
Right.
catch it. And
Yeah.
if you had it at the middle school, at Pinkston, well, all the students come in at one time and they all leave at one time. They're not doing the coming and going that happens at the high school. You know, so a system like this might be more effective manned by a duty at the middle school. than the high school, where people kind of come in and go in on block scheduling. So, all right, I think I've said, my concerns. I would personally like to see options. I wouldn't mind tabling this the next month to talk about it, but I don't know if anybody else has any interest in that. So if they do, let me know. I'll make a motion. We can table it, talk about it, or make a decision next month.
I'd like to ask a question, because it does concern me too, that we're not taking care of every school, because the very second one hit over at Jonesboro years ago, outside on the playground. And so we're talking about cameras, right? Are those cameras gonna be out?
That was my next question.
At Nelson Wilkes.
Can we not
Wilkes and
use
Hackler.
can we not go to kindergarten and the other schools, the younger schools, and put that surveillance software that reads weaponry on our camera systems there already? Because we're upgrading those to IP.
He would like to have it yesterday.
No, but I mean, the pricing on it is not as extravagant as this at all.
So that is an option. That's another layer that we could do at the smaller schools that have the cameras that look at your parking lot and people walking in at that
And the playground.
Yes.
So I can have that for you next month.
But could we cover playgrounds? Because that's.
Yes.
Yes.
That's
Yes.
what they're gonna be.
Oh, yeah, anywhere.
Yes, we can have all our exterior cameras have that AI capability where it's constantly looking.
And do we have someone watching the camera?
It's a software.
It's a software, it alerts you.
It alerts you immediately and also alerts the police
911.
department.
To me, that would be something we need as soon as everyone else is needing. I don't think necessarily that the elementaries possibly need what the high school and
Not
the
if you have
junior
the
high
software
needs.
for the cameras, you wouldn't.
So, like I said, I did set through a Zoom, me and Miss Dewey,
And Miss
and Miss
Russell.
Russell did set, it's called
Mr.
Zero.
Mendelewski. We had tech too.
Yes, we had tech there, we have the cameras that would work on, it's just the software, and you have to, of course, I'm not a tech guy, Steve could probably explain
You
this better.
update the
but
firmware
on the cameras itself, and you can do one camera, or you could do 25 cameras. And it's around, the price tag on that is about $400 to $500 per camera.
And,
So
you know, and over
$1,600 for
Hackler,
4
we've got
cameras a year.
A year.
2
That's
different
not bad.
playgrounds.
Not at all.
You know, so.
But
And maybe it's not a one size, hey, we're kids, so middle school and up, you have a weapons detection system, then, Hackler, you go out here right on Rodeo Drive or the kindergarten, you've got hundreds of kids playing right on the road. Maybe we start investing in an 8-foot fence that you can't see through, right? So our kids just aren't out there if somebody wants to harm our children, right? I mean, if somebody wanted to do that, it's not hard.
Well, Scott, if someone
So
wanted
it's
to
like
get a car and drive it through our school, that's
absolutely.
gonna happen too.
I understand.
I mean,
There's no
You
way
can't-
to
you
stop
can't
it.
do everything.
I mean, we do what we can do to keep our kids safe, and I do believe this is one aspect of that. It's a layer of it. Is the camera things, I would love to bring that to you and let's do it all, but I didn't want to do that. So this is my start. Now, it's up to you guys what y'all want to do. This is what I'm presenting.
Very good.
I'm okay with starting that, but I want us to do the cameras.
Continue.
And I love to hear that, Barbara, because that's what I'd like to do too.
He's ready.
Yeah.
He's
Yeah.
ready.
So, and,
Well,
you
and
know,
that
and
puts
I
us-
think Nixon is right in there with junior high and high. I mean, those kids at the age
Yeah.
that are very problem,
Yeah.
they're troubled over there, going through a lot of things. So,
We can have that next month,
Mhm.
if that's what y'all would like to see.
Yeah, I could have that, yeah, for next month's meeting, I could present that aspect of it, if you would like to see that.
All of our kids at the high school go through one door every morning?
Two.
Two.
Front and back?
No, they go through the cafeteria door where the bus
Buses,
lets off
okay.
and the front door. And we worked really hard on making, because it was, people going through the band hall, people, so we really worked hard to make it where we have 2 entries at our campus.
And it's gonna be changes, like, back in the back with the welding and FFA, those stay
Yes.
open, they're gonna have to get closed up, and
I mean,
there's gonna be changes made.
Am I correct, like if you looked at Hackler today, that's 3 units, right?
Yeah, it would
It's
be.
more than that.
It'd be more than that at Hackler.
5.
I'd have to have, at Hackler, we'd have to have a minimum of your
5?
bus, your 2 front, your front 4. I think you could do it for 4. But maybe the zero eyes is something we look at there on our parking lots and on our playground. And then fence. I mean,
This is a good start
This
to
is-
get the ball rolling.
This is a discussion that needs to
Right.
happen.
I did see today at Guy Berry, I want to brag, I was at Guy Berry today, and they are ringing in. They're using the intercom before they're opening the door. That's big. That's what we're supposed to be doing. That's why there's a camera there.
Yeah.
Can I help you? And then I saw her open the door for her, but not until then. So that's what those entrances, that's why that was done. So that's another thing that does help at our younger grades. It's not foolproof. Nothing is.
And we're
But that
definitely
is
not the only
something.
school doing this. I mean, everybody's
No,
on
so
heightened
it-
alert.
I'm glad, so I think Cotter has this system, Harrison has this system, so there are other schools.
This particular
This
system.
particular,
Yeah.
right here, yeah.
But there's there are.
I'm saying that are close to
Lots of
us.
schools.
Correct, right. But I think every school soon are all gonna have them.
Yeah.
And if you did Pinkston, it'd probably be the front door to that, and then that side door.
Back.
Or, you know, where they come out for the car line.
Yeah, so you'd have where they come in from the car.
Yes.
Yeah, you'd need two at Pinkston.
Car and then the bus.
So buy one, get one free?
That's what I heard that.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm a big, I would love to have one entry point at every one of our campuses, but how we're set up, we just can't do that.
Yeah.
And the
So
number.
how are you gonna shut up the FFA and the how does all that get enclosed? Is that, because the fence, how does that all get?
I mean, so we have had this discussion as well, that some kids park, some FAA kids park back there. But they don't come, we have made it very clear that y'all don't come in the door, do you? They walk around and they go to the main entry. Those doors are locked. That's not how they come in. And I can tell you for the band students as well, Mr. Chetnick does not let the kids come through the band to get to school. They gotta go through the front.
And they were just a few months ago.
Yes, and they still are. I've talked to Tom.
I mean, they were going through different doors.
Yes, they were.
And that was already been corrected, so.
So we've worked really hard with our staff to make sure that happens, that those doors stay locked in the mornings and everyone's got to go through our points of entry. I mean, that's the way I think that's another aspect of how to keep it safe.
I wish it was at one entry also, because that way the SRO could be right there
Yeah.
watching.
These are all good talking points. I mean, this is how it starts. This is how it begins, that we create a coalition to get as protected as we can. It's but one step at a time, one layer at a time, like a gobstopper. And I'm not for tabling it, but that's up to the other, if you guys.
We already have a motion in a second.
We do,
so we're
and we
voting
are
on something.
discussing, so we are now at.
Well, I've got one more thing. I've talked a lot about mental health, in the last year. And I said, I think school shootings are a symptom. The active shooters, there's two scenarios. It's an outsider that comes in wanting to harm our children. That's a lot harder to stop, right? Then there's this, which prevents the inside a student coming into a classroom and doing something, because that student's supposed to be there. That would be one where mental health might play in. So if you don't mind, let me ask Mr. Sutton, I see you sitting back there, if you had, hypothetically, you had more resources put towards you put $100,000 or $150,000 to our school's mental health, do you think that would move the needle in terms of the internal threat, that the student doing something? If you had more resources to identify and talk to and treat these students, vice trying to passively stop them?
Without going, we could talk for 7-10 hours really easily on my thoughts on it, but in a quick comment, I would say I would need that yearly for one thing. So a one-stop shop, $150,000. I could hire 2 licensed folks for that. They could do some incredible things in a year, but then next year I would need another $150,000. And don't get me wrong, Scott, I'd like to hire 15.
Sure.
But
They're not out there.
yeah, you get where I'm going with the funding there. And again, we're wrestling with legislation on this. I mean, we see some of this coming for us. We've been waiting for a while for it, and the money's still not in our hands. But that's the issue with, you know, even some of the grants that we've looked at is, you know, how do we sustain this after that? And ultimately, the school's not, you know, we don't have the money to sustain it. So that's a quick answer for you, Scott, but I mean, I've got plenty of thoughts because
Sure.
I do agree with you on, as far as it being a part of the symptomology there and my end of this being the place that we find the most preventative measures, in my opinion. But again, I can't bracket my bias because that's what I do and believe in, so.
And we cannot use this money for his project. It has to be building fund. So that puts a whole nother caveat to the money.
Could we possibly work with our community and see if maybe we could get some donations for the cameras?
I was thinking about that.
The cameras, I think we can, I mean,
think
I'd
we
love
can
to have,
afford the
we'd love to have
cameras.
donations for anything, but the cameras are something we can get set up. It probably, I don't even think the expense will come to the board. It would be more of a, here's what we've done.
Mhm.
As far as adding that software to some of those exterior cameras, we have to make sure that the current cameras we have, I think that was the
And-
only question.
Yeah, and I think they would work.
Adaptable.
But
to
if
that.
not, we may just have to go ahead and replace them with what we're going to be replacing them with. But that's something, because of the price, it may not even come to you, it would just be in a report. So it's definitely something that we can reasonably do. We were just waiting on the cameras. That was try to get the newer cameras and then put
Yeah.
the software on the newer cameras, was our
Yeah, I think
thought
with this
process.
Yeah, that we're not only doing Nelson Wilkes, but upgrading the rest of our cameras on all our campuses.
So if we upgraded the cameras, then we could add this product, was our, so I guess there is kind of a plan in place, it just, that's what we're headed towards.
Well, I want to be clear, I'm not opposed to spending the money. I'm not sure this is the right spot. Like I started off by saying, I watched you with your handgun walk right through the system and it didn't trigger it at all because where we had it set at, right, if you set it lower, it would have triggered everybody. Lots and lots of false alarms, which renders it useless if it triggers on everybody. So I'm not sure this is the right system. I'm not sure this is the right use of these funds. I'm not opposed to, in fact, I think we should be spending money to achieve our number one priority on our master plan, which is school safety.
Mhm.
Doing everything that we can with our limited resources. So I personally, I think I want to wait a month and hey, let's see some more options. So we can make an educated decision on where to spend these dollars. Obviously, I'm just one. So I am not going to vote for it this month, not because I don't want it, not because I don't think it's a good layered approach, that there's not a use for it. I want to see some other options so we can make an educated decision.
Like option, when you talk about
On
options.
spending, where we spend our money.
Do you talk about options of weapons detection or other things?
Everything for school safety, everything related.
So
Yeah. Where do we want to spend these dollars at, right? Fencing is extremely expensive, right?
So you wouldn't, so you're saying, you're really kind of contradicting yourself.
Okay.
Because you're for it, but you're not for it, but we need it. It's part of our layer.
I'm for spending the money.
Right.
If this is the right spot to do it, let's do it.
So
right?
what
If
would
there's
you do at
another
the
way-
doors to check the kids when they come in?
Well, I'm saying this system may not be the right, well, one, I didn't like this system. I like the second system a lot better. I thought it was more
That
effective.
second system was about $300,000
Right.
and about $80,000 a year.
If it
on software.
works, it's better than spending 150 on something that doesn't work, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So.
Well, and that could be something, you know, when we go do another school, come back again. I'm sure things are gonna change quarterly with these machines. Software, what it can do and how you said you can set it. I remember watching it. It was, you can finite it to pick up vapes, pens.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's gonna take a little longer.
Sensitivity or, you know, when I say weapons of mass destruction, okay? When we say what is mass destruction, that is a 30-round clip on an AR.
Not a pistol.
Not a pistol.
But it can be set to do a pistol
It
if we
can
want
be.
it.
Right.
Okay, When you set it for weapons of mass destruction, that's when I walk through with that, because it's not gonna pick up on just a handgun, it will pick up on an AR.
Right.
But you can set it on certain levels. Now, I don't know all the technology part of that. I mean, I will learn that, how I can set it. That's part of the training that comes with this system.
Okay.
And maybe we can, ask other schools, and I think we have. I think
Yeah.
we have crossed all of our Ts and dotted our Is.
I mean, I
Both
like data
systems are
too.
good. Yeah,
Yeah.
both systems you have that you're looking at are very good systems. Evolve is a Cadillac. It does do everything you want. It's gonna cost you 3 times as much. The software is gonna cost you twice as much. Really good stuff, but with the other equipment that we're proposing here, a lot of schools are using it just because of the pricing on it. It's not that $300,000 to $400,000 for a couple units only.
But I saw it not work during the demo,
Well,
right?
I get that.
When you say,
But if you
Scott,
tweak it.
it was on a certain level.
So you can
pass through with a
program it.
Chromebook, your keys.
Right. It can
and
be
then,
tweaked.
So it didn't, right, but if you lower the sensitivity, it would set off everyone who brought their Chromebook and keys. It would trigger on everybody, which renders it worthless.
So you pretty
right?
much have to use like the airport does.
Mhm.
You'd have to
Well,
put your Chromebook in a bucket or whatever, and you'd have to go around the outside.
Yeah.
So
If you
isn't
wanted
that
to do
what
that.
Guy Berry does
Yes,
anyway?
so it's the same, that's
Yeah.
what I mentioned, when we start this, there is learning. Is it get your Chromebook where kids get used to, get your Chromebook, set it on the table, and walk through it. Absolutely, we can do it, that wouldn't be a problem. And, I've
Might
been to
have
schools where you have to do that.
You
Guy
also
Berry.
have to adapt the people to the product a lot of times, is what
So-
it comes down to.
Kind of like the iPhones in the container. I mean, everything's a learning.
Of course, can you get all the students in if they're taking everything out, putting it in
Yeah, this can do about
and pushing it through?
Chromebook's pretty quick.
Yeah.
Well, once again, at the high school, you've got students coming and going all day, and we're not talking about manning this thing all day.
No.
So when you look at the cost and benefits of this thing, I'm not sure that this moves the needle enough to say, right now, yep, this is the system we want, let's do it. I think we need to look, I personally want to explore more options. That's just me personally. So I've said my piece, I've spoken enough, so I'll be quiet now.
So, when Mr. Booth saw it fail, when you walked through and had it, why did you think, let's lower
No,
that
so
level?
there's, I could really help you explain this more if you'd let someone else talk. Can I tell I have a representative from Bidder 2 that is with the company that can come up here, if that's okay. I mean,
You
there's
can
probably
ask him
questions.
You can pose a question to the audience if you wanted to, if somebody knew.
If there's someone in the audience who can explain why we didn't reduce that setting when Officer Helmet walked through, I'd like to hear it.
Someone that's familiar with the equipment.
Yeah.
Yes.
Please step right up. You can help us answer some.
How are you?
Good, thank you.
Good evening, by the way. And I wish the girls hadn't left. I wanted to comment about our articulate. All
Yes.
of them were about that. That was really cool to see
Yes.
young kids speaking that way. So, to your question, Scott, and I'm Philip, by the way. It's nice to meet you.
Yes, sir.
The system didn't fail. The system is set out of the box for what we call a screen and flow process, right? So out of the box, we're setting it for weapons of mass casualty. That's where the standard is. The district and all the users have the autonomy to set the standard or the level anywhere that they want, right? So with Evolve, with the other systems which is the one you probably are talking about or referencing, that you like, yeah, it'll get a pistol, but it's gonna get everything else too. And so you're gonna have a line of people out the door every single day, right? The benefit of our system is, number one, with that system, you gotta man it. You read the literature, 3 people all the time without stopping, right? So all day long, you don't have the resources to set 3 SROs at a front door and screen people as they come. High school's tricky because you have kids coming and going, and really every school's tricky. You have kids coming and going, but you also have people coming and going all day, right? We're not just concerned about students, we're concerned about everybody. And you asked I don't know if you asked the question, but you posed sort of a rhetorical question, and that is that at least 50% or more of school shootings, whether they're mass casualty or they're just a school shooting. By the way, a mass casualty shooting is 3 people and up, 4 people and up, right? But 50% of those shootings are done by returning or currently enrolled students, right? 50%. So it's not, I agree about mental health, we need to do something, but it's not just the kids that are enrolled, it's the kids that have, graduated and come back. And if you look at the data, it's 50% across the board, right? So for us, the benefit of our system is that in a screen and flow scenario, we're getting everybody in a timely manner. We're looking for weapons of mass casualty. You can tweak it at any moment, very quickly, and that gives us some advantage because students don't know you're doing that, right? Now, when you do tweak it, like us and everybody else out there, the more sensitive you get, the more people you're going to pull over. It's just the way it is. There's no in between there. So if you're wanting to get pistols, you're going to get every laptop, every Yeti cup, every thermos, every cell phone, every key, period, bar none, right? And you're going to have lines out the building. There's no in between in the technology. I think that's a misconception, generally speaking, with this type of stuff, because people don't understand that can't be differentiated. It's just the way it is, right? So if you hear of we had I have a kid, by the way, in the junior high, and I think it was last year, he was in Pinkston, and we got a few extra days of Christmas, I think, or sometime before the break or during the break, there was a school threat, right? We had no way to screen anybody coming in the building, period. And my kid is going to school at these schools, and I think if we're looking at, there's a way around it, well, there's a way around anything. I agree with your premise too, and I think Eddie did a good job sort of articulating the point. If you want to drive a car into the building, you can do that, right? But the point really is that if you're not looking for something and you're just waiting, right, then no one's moving any rocks, no one's doing anything. And so for us, the scalability allows you, when a school threat like that happened last year, without any of the students knowing, turn that thing to a really, really sensitive setting. So now all of a sudden we're screening at a very discretionary level. We're setting a baseline for our students. Recommendation to all the schools that we work with across the country is after spring break, after winter break, after summer break, crank that thing so far down that they think it's going to get your vape, right? Because it's going to get your car keys and it's going to get the metal loophole on your shoe, right? That's not tenable for the type of environment we want to be in all the time. But it is acceptable if you're trying to set a baseline, right? And so kids won't know, and that's the advantage we have also. But just in general, and I'm talking to you because you're asking most of the questions. There is no differentiating system to system between one that can get a handgun and let a Yeti cup go through and a thermos go through, right? Or, vice versa. That's why we run them where we run them. Screen and flow, no line out the door, no one's waiting in the rain. But if there's a need, or if you just want to make it more sensitive, you can do that at the drop of a hat.
You do big schools, California, New York.
We're in several schools. We are in California.
I saw that on the
not New
website.
York. We are all over the country. Really, got several schools in Arkansas, Texas. We had a district in Texas just put 11 of these in. Is it 11? I think it's 11. And they did it across the district, right? And they have other layered technologies that are important for school safety. There's no one size fits all here, right? And so I think that's maybe the dilemma that you're struggling with and really trying to answer to. You can't fix it all at one time. You just have to layer it in a way that is progressive. And I like Ms. Dewey's point, the state really sets that directive out too, right? And you see that in Texas, you see that Here in Arkansas, Missouri, you see it all over the country where the state sort of articulates what, in what stages you should do things. But to the school that I mentioned in Texas with 11 of them, they have weapons detections, they have AI technology. I think AI technology is great. But the downside of AI is if you're walking through the parking lot and you don't have your gun brandished, right? You don't have weapons detection. You walk into a school and pull the weapon out there in the school, then the AI is no good for you, right? So I think that the argument about there's a way around anything is sort of, it holds water, except that you still have to do something, which is the right layers. AI didn't detect it, weapons detection did, right? So at least we have response. And again, our system allows for passive screening all day long, which I think is really important because you can't afford to sit in SRO at a door all day. It's just not tenable. There's not budget for that. And I'd rather have a virtual SRO working for me than none at all, right? And of course, we have capacity to share out notifications across the district through our platform, across user bases, et cetera, et cetera. But it didn't fail. It's just working where it was set at.
And I don't think I used the term fail, but
You did.
Ms. Morgan, did you get your question
You did.
answered?
I would
You had asked
100%,
first.
yes.
Okay.
Anybody have any further discussion with this?
Thank you.
Especially we have a,
Thank you, there's a motion.
thank you. We have a motion and a second. We've discussed. All in favor? All opposed? Mr. Booth? Opposed, 6-4. Motion passes. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
6-1.
6-1. All right, thank you. Let us move to Ms. Dewey, request to approve commodities sale.
This
Actually-
is a good discussion.
Very
by the
good
way.
discussion.
Very good discussion.
This is how it should
We need to
be,
keep
and I'm
doing
proud
that.
of everyone for keeping everybody. Good discussion. We'll
Mr.
move this
Engel?
next month too.
We have to.
Mr. Engel, come on down. Love your sweatshirt there you got, Roro.
I had a better one picked out, but my wife said no.
Oh, I can only imagine. Request to approve policy 3.1 MH update.
So this is just the 3.1 update for our stipend, really deadlines, as the board proposed last month, went through PPC, everything is good to go.
Hunky-dory,
Hunky-dory.
hunky-dokey.
Make a motion, we approve the recommendation as presented.
We have a motion by Jason. I need a second, please.
Second.
Second from Mr. Booth. Any discussion?
This is the June 30 we talked about last
Yes.
month.
Very good. All in favor? Unanimous. Thank you, Mr. Engel.
Thank
Too
you, Mr.
quick.
Engel.
You can stay if you'd like. All right, Ms. Dewey.
So Mountain Home Public School Policy 713 states that when commodities become of no further use to the district, they're considered surplus and may be sold at fair market value. The Board of Directors must authorize that sale. Mountain Home Band Program has 2 tubas they'd like to sell and replace with a single tuba that better fits the band's needs. Recommended surplus commodities are as follows: 2 Holton Collegiate 4-valve lacquer tubas purchased in 2007. There's their asset numbers. These are valued at $1,500 a piece. I recommend the board approve the sale of these 2 tubas for $1,500 a piece.
Make a motion, we approve the recommendation.
A motion from Daniel, second from Jason. Thank you. Any discussion?
What did these cost in 2007?
You know, I talked to Mr. Pendergrass. Told me he's bought a tuba before.
$3,700 for that one, right?
He bought a
Paid
very.
almost $6,000 for the
Holy
one for
smokers.
Wesley.
Yeah, he's got that 4 rotary. Yeah.
So tubas are very expensive.
Mine's 18,000.
But if you think
But it's
about
held
it,
its weight.
if you
That's pretty
paid
good.
$3,700 in 2007, you're going to get 50. That's better than a car.
Mhm.
That's fair market value. I looked it up myself to see what they were going for.
So that's-
all right. It is.
Very good. All in favor? Unanimous. Thank you very much. Any board discussion?
I'm gonna say I appreciate the discussion.
Yes.
On school safety, and
We're going to
I
continue
hate to
this.
say this, but we gotta do more of that.
Yes. Yes. That's what I am talking about. $5, Barbara, every time your phone goes off.
Fine.
in light of this last action item, maybe we need to talk about changing policy 7.13, where you have to have board approval to sell these things. You can buy something up to 20,000, but to sell it to
You can sell, you can buy something for $19,999.
But to sell it, you have to have board, I mean,
So
we maybe should
the-
reconsider this policy.
So I was talking to Ms. Cotter about that, and it is an ASBA policy. We have not changed it, and they have not changed it. We think because it could get, I could sell things and
Yeah.
y'all not know about it.
Well, just think if we sell the metal detector
How does that go back in?
without asking.
So that goes back, that's my only hesitation on that,
But
and
when
Ms.
they
Cotter,
buy
you
the
wanna?
two- When they sell the tubeless, how does that get
it.
moved back into the
Come
fund?
on now.
Does that go into?
It'll just be received in 2000.
It'll just be receipted and then they'll buy theirs. Would you want to explain kind of, we were talking, we just think it might be because, and Ms. Harper was there as well, somebody's done some shady dealing at some point,
Yeah.
and we just want to keep it all
Keep it on the up and
very
up.
clean. The good news is we don't sell much, and so y'all don't see these very often. You know, if we continue to sell things, I think that's
Have a
maybe,
yard sale.
that's maybe when we consider the policy
Beat up cafeteria
update.
tables should sell.
Yeah, cafeterias.
Those aren't worth
Buses.
$1,500 or five. Those aren't worth $1,000, because that policy's for $1,000.
Oh, that's right.
I felt like we had a really nice conference in Little Rock, our ASBA conference.
Presenters did a great job.
Yep.
Yes, they did. A lot of
Great
people.
job. Any other happies you want to talk about, sads? Merry Christmas?
There were two things that I learned at this conference that I thought were just little easy tweaks in how we function. I talked to Ms. Dewey about both of them. One, the strategic plan. We've got a great strategic plan, but do any of us monitor that strategic plan? Or does it just lay there? And one of the sessions I went to talked about every action item that you had, you related to the strategic plan. You even put the icon in the reports because that makes everything connect and flow. And there's board members that are connected to each strategic plan. And the reason why that all functions is that it's just someone's monitoring their portion of the plan and make sure that our safety's taken care of. We keep going on the layers. I just think that'd be a really nice little addition. Lets the community know, hey, we are paying attention to what you said as priorities and we're working on that. The other thing, and I was kind of surprised, I happen to be a real AI fan. Well, I know educators as a whole can be kind of concerned about AI being in the classroom. A lot of times the things that we're afraid of, we tend not to learn about, we ignore them, thinking they'll go away, and then it becomes a bigger issue. And it's just one of those things that I want an awareness, maybe we should be exposing our students to AI. Our teachers, Ms. Dewey, I mentioned to Ms. Dewey how one of the things pointed out, we were all in this session, you can have lesson plans written by someone with 150 IQ. Now, I don't know that my IQ is that high, so to have someone with a higher IQ write a lesson plan, that would have really been helpful when I was doing computer coding at Guy Berry. Just embrace it. Ms. Dewey did refer me to the curriculum committee, which I'm on, that might be something that's discussed. The other thing, I wonder why we're not requiring a math course for high school seniors. I think math ought to be required every year a child's in school. Probably gonna get some parent phone calls over that, but I think that's a big deal.
And
If
her
we think
number
they're gonna be
is-
ready to go into the working world or onto post-secondary ed, they need to be sharp on their math skills and their literacy skills. And we are now to where some students can just pop in for a class or two and pop out. And I think we need to bring that discussion back up. Teachers are paid to be here all day long. If students are fluid and you've got teachers who don't have full class loads, that to me is a discrepancy in our spending. So I don't know where this goes from here, but I wanted to point it out. We need to pay attention. A student who's not taking a math their senior year, I think we've failed them.
Probably right.
AI is coming out, it's like a freight train, and it's gonna change a lot of stuff. You know, a year ago, I've been saying we need to focus on, hey, get coding classes available. AI's eliminating coding. You wind up telling what end state you want, and it'll backfill the coding. right? They'll figure that out to get the end state. So human coding is going to go away pretty quick. So yeah, it's one of those things we kind of need to embrace. We need to start educating kids on, giving them options
And
looking
teachers.
at it. Teachers.
Yeah.
It is
Parents.
about to change a lot of stuff, and it plays into the math. Right. One of the discussions that I was listening to on a podcast, they were talking about industries that are changing, what AI is going to, how it's going to change our industries, and what would you put your kids into college? What course? What would they study in college now, knowing what's coming? And these individuals are all pretty smart on AI, and they're all math. Like, look into the future. Whatever the future holds, math is going to be. It's there. It's a common language. Math's not going anywhere. So, yes, emphasizing math. You know how I feel about
That's a big deal.
kids not being here all day on their senior year of their high school. I think, yes.
We're paying the teachers.
We need
Another
to-
point that came out, and this was like so just to make the cell phone issue a little more complicated, it's great we've got them out of the classroom and the students are looking up and they're playing apples to apples. I'm not real sure what they're doing. But we all have these. Do we use them as consumers, or do we use them as producers? And I think it was Representative Mayberry that pointed out, we taught students how to make apps, but now we're not letting them use the apps. We have got to realize what the tools of the future are and teach kids how to use them responsibly. And I don't know if it's just little add-ins, I don't know if it's modules, whatever, but we've got to teach students how to use cell phones to produce, not to waste their time, because that's kind of the wave of the future. And we need to be ahead of the curve instead of chasing the future. It's just my 2 cents.
2 cents here, 2 cents there, we make $1.
Homework will go away before you know it, because when they go home, I've already seen it in college level. I don't know that math problem. It just did it all right here in about 2 seconds on their phone.
Right.
So what's to say our kids take theirs home and they just go, oh, here we go. We write that down real quick. So there's more and more homework in the classroom than it will be at home.
It'll all show up
For
on
them
the test.
to do it there.
It will.
Right.
So I had a discussion with
How
math
good are your
teacher
grades before the
yesterday
test?
about AI in her classroom, and I just assumed she was gonna say how horrible and couldn't believe and doesn't use it. This is a junior high math teacher who showed me how she was showing her kids how to use AI with math, because if they're gonna use it, let's do it right. And you can take a picture of a problem
Right.
that you're struggling with. Of course, she didn't recommend they do it with all of it, and it will tell you step by step how to solve the problem. Now, AI is not 100%, even in math. I was actually talking to Mr. Knight about this, and he said, you got to be careful. Sometimes the math is wrong. So she and I had a really good discussion about that, and then she pulled out papers of problems, math problems, that she had gone in to come up with some contextual math story problems, like we used to call them, and she had used AI to create those. So our teachers are beginning to see. I saw Miss Russell nod her head when you were talking about lesson plans. That's what they're doing.
And you're also using it for essential standards and learning
Essential
targets.
standards, learning targets, and I wish
They're
Mr.
priority
Engel
standards.
would have, if he would have stayed, he could have told you that department did purchase the above and beyond fancy ChatGPT and GPT, yeah.
GPT.
And he could have given us some better, more clear examples than I'm using right now.
Fantastic.
But
Yeah.
I feel like our students probably need to know how to learn it, how to use it
How to use it
appropriately.
appropriately.
But we do have some teachers that are beginning to show them. But she pulled it out and showed me. We were just talking about something different, and AI was on her list to talk to me about. So
There was an instructor
good.
from Tech, Russellville Tech, that spoke here in Mountain Home a year ago. His name's Eli Craner. He's a book author. And the question was asked, how do you even teach? He teaches English at Tech. How do you do that? And he said, well, it's very easy. He said, when they're in my class, it's pencil and paper, and they write. And I take that up, and I check it, hand it back out, and say, proof this how you want. He doesn't care after that. But there are ways to teach students. You have to create the content, but you can have this AI, proof your work, upgrade your work. It's a great tool. So I just want to make sure we're doing it.
AI is in its infancy, absolute infancy. Just in this past year, have companies started investing large sums of money in it, and we're on Gen 1 of many to come.
It's crazy.
It's going to be so one, getting our students in now, learning it at the beginning stages is going to set them up well for life. But it's becoming who can create the best prompts, right? To get the output out of the AI, you have to do the prompt. You have to tell it, assume this, do this, do this. And so the folks who are going to be the most productive using the technology are the ones that can create the best prompts and tell the system what they're looking for. So, I mean, there's a good spot right there on, hey, starting to teach kids on how to prompt it to get the information that it wants out.
There's an app for that too. Tells you how to prompt it.
This is going to be as disruptive as the automobile
And the car
internet.
and the phone.
It's changing. It's changing a lot.
Stock market.
Change is hard.
Good discussion, folks. Superintendent update?
Into 2024, kind of hard to believe. I know our teachers, staff, students, and families are ready for a break. And they're going to have a well-deserved nice Christmas break starting tomorrow at 1 o'clock. Thank you all for representing our school district at ASBA this past week. It was an honor to learn and be with you all as we think we learned a few things. I hope you did. Next month, Molly, just like you brought up, you'll see the either numbers or icons related to our strategic plan. And that'll identify how the action items fit with our district priorities. I hope for this year to bring more awareness to our strategic plan and to show you where we're headed with the action items that have been determined by this group and initially by our community. In January, we're not going to have a campus visit meeting, no special meeting. Those will start back in February. However, regular school board meeting January 16th, and then Tuesday, January 21 at 5:30. Aliza Jones will be here. She'll have a facilities planning tool to share with us that she has that's actually in our strategic plan. She has something already created that Mr. Knight has been working with her on, and we'll begin to have some discussions about timelines, possible things for the future. So that's the 21st at 5:30. Finally, school board elections will be in May. Timeline was on our Facebook page this month. We do have 3 open seats, positions 1, 2, and 3. If folks have questions, reach out to us. County Clerk's office is probably your best bet as well, because we don't run those elections. We just make sure that they've got who needs to be on there, on the ballot. Okay? And
Okay.
that's all I have.
Anyone else? All right. We will now break for executive session to discuss personal employment, retirement,